There are names that, even as time goes by, still send chills down your spine. One of them is Clementine Barnabet, remembered in the southern United States as the Voodoo witch who murdered entire families. Her story wasn't just left in police records, it also became part of the legends people still whisper about today. And the scariest part is that this isn't some made-up tale. It all really happened. Clementine wasn't an ordinary killer. She wasn't content with taking the life of just one person. Instead, she attacked entire families while they slept, carrying out these brutal crimes as part of supposed voodoo rituals. When she was finally arrested and brought before a judge, she confessed to having murdered nearly 40 people during these strange ceremonies. However, she was officially convicted for only one of those crimes. What makes this case so disturbing is that according to the documents from that time, all of the people Clementine claimed to have killed did exist, and they died under circumstances that no one could explain. There was no clear evidence, but the deaths were recorded, and the details of how they happened matched her confessions. Today, in many small towns across the southern United States, her name still comes up in the old stories passed down by elders as a warning about what can happen when people meddle with things they don't understand. Although her story has become part of local folklore, what makes it truly unsettling is that it's all based on a real-life murderer. Clementine was born in 1894 in St. Martinville, Louisiana. She grew up with her 3 siblings in a home filled with violence and abuse. It's said that her own father, Raymond Barnabet, mistreated them from a very young age and abused them. That environment eventually led the family to move to Lafayette around 1909, hoping to leave their past behind. But what seemed like a chance to start fresh quickly turned into a series of horrific events. Between 1911 and 1912, several families in the area were found dead in their homes. What all these killings had in common was the shocking brutality with which they were carried out. Someone had broken into the houses at night and, using a lumberman's axe, smashed the skulls of every person inside, no matter their age. The first suspect was Raymond Barnabet, Clementine's father. He was arrested after being accused of murdering all 4 members of the Andrews family. Strangely, it was Raymond's own children, including Clementine and her brother Zephyrin, who testified against him. They claimed their father had returned home covered in blood and boasting that he had slaughtered an entire family. The testimony was so terrible it seemed hard to believe. Raymond's lawyers used that to their advantage and managed to appeal the sentence. While they waited for a new trial, Raymond remained behind bars. However, during those very same months, other families were murdered in exactly the same way. The Randall family and their 4 children were found dead in their home, with the same pattern of axe blows to the head and shattered skulls. It became obvious that Raymond couldn't have committed those murders since he was locked up. This led investigators to turn their attention to Clementine, who lived near the areas where the killings took place. When they searched her home, they found bloodstains on her dirty clothes and on the fence outside her yard. What at first looked like an attempt by Clementine to frame her father soon turned into something much darker, because even though she and her brother were in police custody, the massacres didn't stop. Entire households were attacked at night. Someone would force open the doors, enter with an axe, and kill every single family member, smashing their skulls without leaving any survivors. It was then that Clementine made a confession that left everyone speechless. She admitted to having killed 35 people, though later she claimed it was 40. When asked why she had committed these murders, she revealed that she was a member of a group called the Church of Sacrifice, a religious organization that, under the appearance of Christianity, secretly carried out voodoo rituals and human sacrifices. According to Clementine, her spiritual leader, a priestess, had given her a conjure bag, an amulet that supposedly granted her supernatural powers. Clementine claimed that to test whether the bag actually worked, she decided to commit her first murder. After that, she continued with the rest. However, Clementine's statements were inconsistent. At times, she said she acted alone, while other times she mentioned supposed accomplices within the sect, even providing names. What was certain is that the murders really happened, and some details were impossible to explain. For example, in several of the cases, the doors of the victims' homes were found locked from the inside, as if no one could have entered or left. When asked how she managed to do it, Clementine claimed she had the power to vanish and reappear anywhere, at will, materializing inside her victims' homes. She explained that she would grab the axe, which was almost always kept near the stove in those homes, and kill everyone as an offering to a voodoo deity called Damballa. That name might sound familiar because it's the same one used in the Chucky horror movies, when the killer doll invokes a spirit to switch bodies. The creator of that saga was inspired by actual voodoo texts, where this spirit was described as the Lord of Shadows. For the Church of Sacrifice, Damballa was believed to be a being capable of granting followers the ability to change bodies and acquire other powers in exchange for sacrifices. Clementine claimed that her killings were offerings to Damballa to protect herself and gain more power. The incredible thing is that all of this was recorded in Louisiana's official documents, and those records can still be found today. And there's one more chilling fact. The Church of Sacrifice still exists. Even though it hasn't been linked to any recent crimes, those who know about it insist it's one of the most dangerous sects around. In 1912, Clementine was sentenced to life in prison, even though it couldn't be clearly proven that she was responsible for all the deaths. The judges and jurors were so terrified by her story that they didn't want to take any chances. The strangest event happened in 1913 when Clementine escaped from her cell without leaving any trace of how she did it. There were no broken doors, no tunnels, no holes in the walls. Nobody knew how she had gotten out. When they finally recaptured her and asked how she managed to escape, she coldly replied,
"I warned you. I can disappear and reappear wherever I want."
This case drew so much attention that doctors and scientists became interested in her. In 1923, they decided to perform a lobotomy, a surgical operation on her brain that, at the time, was believed to control violent impulses and remove supposed supernatural abilities. After the surgery, Clementine was released to see if she would remain calm, but something unexpected happened. She vanished without a trace. No one ever heard from her again. It's estimated that 37 people died during that wave of killings. And even though more than 100 years have passed, in several rural areas of Louisiana, people still avoid leaving an axe near the fireplace. For many, the memory of that woman is still alive, and some voodoo cults continue to worship Clementine Barnabet as a powerful figure.